The family photos were arranged perfectly on the side table, 25 years of mother-daughter memories, captured in fading frames. But when Ellen asked Maria Kim to tell her about her daughter, her answer broke Sarah's heart in the audience. "I don't have a daughter." Maria Kim, 58, sat in the interview chair with the careful posture of someone navigating a world that no longer made complete sense. Early-onset Alzheimer's had been stealing pieces of her memory for 18 months, and today it had taken the most precious piece of all, the recognition of her only child. The Ellen DeGeneres Show had invited Maria during their Health Awareness Week to discuss her experience with early-onset Alzheimer's and how families cope with memory loss. The segment was meant to raise awareness about a disease that affects younger people, showing how communities can support those facing cognitive decline. Sarah Kim, 25, sat in the third row of the audience, wearing the blue dress her mother had always said made her eyes sparkle. She watched the woman who taught her to ride a bike, walked her to school every day, and called her my precious angel, prepared to discuss a disease that had erased her from her mind. Ellen had been briefed about Maria's condition, but she didn't know the full extent of her memory loss. Her daughter had written to the show, hoping that being in a familiar setting, talking about her life, might trigger some recognition, some moment of clarity where her mother would remember her. "Maria," Ellen began gently, "tell us how Alzheimer's has affected your daily life." Maria considered the question carefully. "It's like living in a house where someone keeps moving the furniture," she said. "Everything feels familiar, but nothing is where I expect it to be." Ellen nodded with understanding. "That must be very frustrating." "The hardest part is the people," Maria continued. "Strangers come up to me and act like they know me. They seem hurt when I don't remember them." Ellen felt her chest tighten, knowing Sarah was listening to every word. "What about your family? How are they handling your diagnosis?" "I live alone," Maria said matter-of-factly. "Always have. Some people visit me. A young woman comes by sometimes. But I don't really know who she is." The studio fell silent. Ellen glanced toward the audience, spotting Sarah wiping tears from her eyes. "Maria," Ellen said carefully, "you mentioned a young woman who visits you. Can you tell me about her?" "She's very kind," Maria said. "She brings me groceries, helps with things around the house. She seems to know a lot about me, but I can't place how we know each other." Ellen realized she was witnessing the devastating reality of Alzheimer's. Not just memory loss, but the erasure of the most important relationships in a person's life. "Does she look familiar to you at all?" "Sometimes," Maria admitted. "She has kind eyes. She reminds me of someone, but I can't remember who." Ellen made a decision that felt both necessary and heartbreaking. "Maria, that young woman is here today." Maria looked around the studio with polite interest. "Is she? That's nice of her to come. She's in our audience." "Maria, her name is Sarah, and she's your daughter." Maria stared at Ellen as if she'd spoken in a foreign language. "I don't have a daughter." "Yes, you do," Ellen said gently. "You have a daughter who loves you very much." "I think there's been a mistake," Maria said with the patient tone of someone correcting a misunderstanding. "I would remember if I had a daughter." Ellen felt the weight of having to convince a mother that her child existed. "Maria, would you like to meet Sarah?" "I suppose so," Maria said agreeably. "Though I'm not sure why you think she's my daughter." Ellen gestured toward the audience. "Sarah, would you like to come down?" Sarah Kim stood slowly, her legs shaking as she made her way to the stage. Every step carried the weight of approaching a mother who no longer knew she existed. Maria watched Sarah approach with the polite attention she'd give any stranger. When she reached the stage, she offered a kind smile. "Hello," Maria said. "Ellen says you're my daughter, but I'm afraid there's been some confusion." Sarah fought back tears. "Hi, Mom, it's me, Sarah." "Sarah is a pretty name," Maria said, conversationally. "But I've never had children." Ellen watched this heartbreaking exchange, seeing a daughter face the reality that her mother's disease had erased her from her life. "Sarah," Ellen said gently, "how long has your mother not recognized you?" 6 months, Sarah replied, her voice barely audible. "It started gradually," She'd forget conversations we'd had. Then she'd forget I'd visited. Now she doesn't remember I exist at all. Maria listened to this exchange with growing concern. Miss, I think you have me confused with someone else. I would certainly remember having a daughter. Ellen realized she needed to try a different approach. Maria, I'm going to show you some photos. Can you tell me what you see? Ellen's producers had prepared a slideshow of mother-daughter photos spanning 25 years. The first image appeared on the studio screen. Maria holding a newborn baby. That's a nice picture, Maria said. The woman looks a bit like me when I was younger. Maria, that is you, Ellen said. You're holding your daughter Sarah the day she was born. Maria studied the photo carefully. It does look like me, but I don't remember this happening. The next photo showed Maria teaching a toddler to walk. The little girl's face was clearly Sarah's. This is a lovely family photo, Maria commented. The little girl is very cute. Sarah couldn't hold back her tears anymore. Mom, that's me. You taught me to walk in our backyard. Maria looked at Sarah with sympathy. I'm sorry you're upset, but I really don't know you. Ellen continued with more photos. Maria at Sarah's first day of school, her graduation, her birthday parties. Each image told the story of a devoted mother raising her daughter alone after her husband's death. These are beautiful memories, Maria said. But they're not mine. Sarah spoke directly to her mother. Mom, you used to call me your precious angel. You'd make me pancakes every Sunday morning. You taught me to braid my hair and how to be strong. Maria listened with the patient attention of someone hearing a stranger's story. You have lovely memories of your mother. I'm sure she was a wonderful woman. Ellen felt overwhelmed by the tragedy unfolding before her. Sarah, this must be incredibly difficult. Every day I lose her a little more, Sarah said. 6 months ago, she'd forget our conversations. 3 months ago, she stopped recognizing my voice on the phone. Now I'm a stranger who brings her groceries. Maria was becoming agitated. I wish I could help, but I really don't understand why everyone thinks I have a daughter. Ellen made another attempt. Maria, is there anything about Sarah that feels familiar? Maria studied Sarah's face carefully. She has kind eyes, she said finally. And she seems genuinely upset. I feel bad that I can't remember what she wants me to remember. Sarah turned to Ellen. She's still in there somewhere. Sometimes I catch glimpses of the woman who raised me, but then the disease takes her away again. Ellen realized this wasn't about recovery or miraculous recognition. This was about love persisting, despite devastating loss. Sarah, why do you keep visiting your mother when she doesn't remember you? Because she's still my mom, Sarah said simply. The disease has taken her memories, but it hasn't changed who she is. She's still kind, still gentle, still the woman who raised me. Ellen felt moved by Sarah's devotion. How do you cope with this loss? I remember for both of us, Sarah replied. I carry our story so that even if she can't remember it, it still exists. Maria was listening intently. You seem like a very loving daughter to someone. Your mother is lucky to have you. Sarah's face crumpled. You are my mother. I wish I could be, Maria said with genuine kindness. You deserve a mother who remembers you. Ellen made one final attempt. Maria, would you like to hear about your daughter? About the life you built together? I suppose that would be nice, Maria said agreeably. Sarah took a deep breath. Your name is Maria Kim. You're 58 years old. You were married to my father, David, who died when I was 10. You raised me by yourself from then on. Maria nodded politely, listening to what seemed like someone else's biography. You're a nurse, Sarah continued. You love gardening and old movies. You make the best chocolate chip cookies in the world. I do like chocolate chip cookies, Maria said with mild interest. You taught me to drive in the parking lot behind our house. You stayed up all night when I had the flu. You walked me down the aisle at my college graduation. Maria smiled. You graduated from college? That's wonderful. You were so proud, Sarah said, tears flowing freely. You told everyone in the restaurant that night that your daughter was going to change the world. Your mother sounds like a very good woman, Maria said. Ellen realized this conversation could continue forever without Maria remembering. The disease had created an insurmountable wall between mother and daughter. "Maria," Ellen said, "what do you think about Sarah, just as a person?" Maria looked at Sarah thoughtfully. "She seems very special. Whoever her mother is, she raised a remarkable young woman." Sarah sobbed. "You did raise me. You raised me to be strong enough to love someone who can't love me back." Maria reached out and patted Sarah's hand. "Don't cry, I'm sure your mother loves you very much, wherever she is." Ellen felt the profound tragedy of the moment. "Sarah, how do you find strength to keep coming back?" "Because love isn't about being remembered," Sarah said. "Love is about showing up. Even if she doesn't know who I am, I know who she is." Maria was confused by the emotional intensity around her. "I seem to have upset everyone somehow." "You haven't upset anyone," Ellen assured her. "You're dealing with a disease that's beyond your control." Ellen addressed the audience. "What we're witnessing is the reality of Alzheimer's, not just for patients, but for families who watch their loved ones disappear while still being physically present." Sarah looked at her mother. "Mom, even if you don't remember me, I want you to know that you were the best mother anyone could ask for." "That's very kind of you to say," Maria replied. "I'm sure your mother appreciates having such a devoted daughter." Ellen made a final attempt at connection. "Maria, Sarah wants to hug you. Would that be okay?" "Of course," Maria said. "She seems like she needs a hug." Sarah embraced her mother, and for a moment, something shifted in Maria's expression. Not recognition exactly, but a sense of comfort, of safety. "You smell like vanilla," Maria said quietly. "That's nice." Sarah's heart leaped. "You always said that. You said I smelled like vanilla cookies." But the moment passed, and Maria gently separated from the hug. "Thank you. That was very nice." Ellen knew the segment had to end, but she felt reluctant to let this story conclude without some resolution. "Sarah, what would you want people to know about loving someone with Alzheimer's?" "That they're still there," Sarah said firmly. "The disease changes how they express love, but it doesn't eliminate their capacity to feel it." "And Maria, what would you want people to know about living with this disease?" "That it's frightening to lose yourself, piece by piece," Maria said with startling clarity. "But kindness from strangers makes it bearable." Ellen felt chills. "Maria, Sarah isn't a stranger, she's your daughter." "I know that's what everyone keeps saying," Maria replied. "But I can't feel it. I wish I could, for her sake." The interview concluded with Sarah returning to her seat, and Maria being gently escorted off stage. There had been no miraculous moment of recognition, no Hollywood ending where love conquered disease. Instead, there had been something more real and more heartbreaking. The demonstration that love persists even when memory fails, that devotion continues even when recognition disappears. The episode aired 3 weeks later and generated thousands of responses from families dealing with Alzheimer's. Viewers were moved not by a cure or recovery, but by Sarah's unwavering commitment to loving her mother without expectation of reciprocation. Sarah continued visiting her mother 3 times a week. Some days she was agitated by her presence. Other days she was friendly to the nice young woman who brought her groceries. She never stopped introducing herself as her daughter, never stopped hoping for a moment of recognition. Maria's condition continued to deteriorate, but Sarah's presence seemed to calm her. She began to look forward to visits from the lady with kind eyes, even though she never remembered her name or their relationship. Ellen followed up with the family 6 months later. Maria had been moved to a memory care facility, and Sarah visited her daily. She still didn't recognize her, but she'd begun to show clear preference for her company over other visitors. "I think some part of her knows I'm important," Sarah told Ellen during their follow-up call. "She may not remember that I'm her daughter, but she remembers that I'm safe." Ellen kept a photo from that day in her dressing room. Maria and Sarah during their brief hug, her face showing momentary peace in her arms. It reminded her that the most powerful love stories aren't always about mutual recognition. Sometimes they're about one person loving enough for two, about choosing devotion over despair, about finding ways to honor a relationship even when only one person remembers it existed. Because in the end, Alzheimer's might steal memories, but it cannot steal the choice to love. And sometimes that choice, made daily by those left behind, becomes the most beautiful testament to what was lost and what endures. Maria Kim forgot her daughter, but Sarah Kim never forgot her mother. And in that remembering, in that daily choice to show up for someone who couldn't show up for her, the love story continued even when the memory ended,